Welcome to the Tech-Mex Podcast. We're your host, Eric Mando, and this is episode Sesenta. We're bringing you the top stories in Bitcoin tech and wealth so you too can use crypto just like Stark does. Dale.
Are you talking about Iron Man?
You know what? Iron Man probably has a Bitcoin account. I can see that.
Tony Stark, baby.
But we're talking about a different Stark here.
All right. So tell me which Stark are we talking about then?
Okay. John Reed Stark. For those of you that don't know, he's kind of one of the former SEC correspondents, and he's been making he's been in the news recently talking about crypto.
Yeah.
What
So
do you
let
know
me.
about
I do have his LinkedIn. I'm sorry, his X account. So basically, this guy is the kind of the former chief of the SEC Office of Internet Enforcement. So what about him?
Okay. Well, I don't know. Okay. What he says, he's like, man, crypto helps you do all kinds of stuff. So it seems like he's like a big proponent, right?
I did found the thing that he mentioned, right? So I want to quote it because this is a kind of a important thing here, right? So he quoted, "Every single crime you can conceive of is easier to do now because of crypto, especially ransomware, human sex trafficking, sanctions evasion, money laundering. North Korea is financing the nuclear weapons program using crypto." Dude, this guy throw every single keyword. I mean, he just means killing babies.
Okay. So John Reed Stark here is he's giving crypto like a lot of power. You know what? Honestly, I think you can rewrite this instead of saying every single crime. Is like you might just say every single positive action you can conceive of, it's easier to do now because of crypto. It's basically what he's saying. He's saying crypto makes everything better is all he's saying, but he's just pointing out kind of the negative things that you can do in general, and not just with crypto, with cash money, with cars, with the internet. Like, come on, where do you draw the line? Like, it doesn't really make any sense. I'm not sure what he's getting at here.
I think that you can replace anything that says crypto for any disrupting technology, right? So you can put here internet, as you mentioned. So it's like, yeah, some crimes can be easier, right? Instead of going to the bank and rob the bank, you can steal credit cards, and use them online. But again, you can change it for cell phones as well, right? Like any other type of bad business. If you have a cell phone, probably now is easier, right? So I think that is just a tactic to scare the public. But yeah, I feel that sometimes it's just different ways to just get maybe some publicity. So what's your thinking? Why do you think that he's doing that?
More than likely, we've seen with the current administration or the outgoing administration, there's been kind of an attack on crypto just in general, right? We've seen that the SEC was used as a tool to target these companies like Coinbase and things like that, and by not providing regulatory clarity for businesses that are working crypto. So I think this is just another extension of that. I think it's just FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt that's being put out there. Yes, crypto can be used for bad, but yes, crypto can be used for good as well. Just like these other game-changing technologies like the internet, like cell phones. That's really how technology works. It raises all boats, right? It helps you do everything better, more efficient. So while he's saying is not necessarily untrue, it's really missing the context, and it's being framed in a way just to spread FUD. That's what it is. But he's been in the game for a long time. A lot of times, these folks that are in these government type positions, they're politicized, and they use these folks just to continue to spread this information out there.
Yeah, and I feel that right now you see all of these forces, right? Um, One of the things that it always kind of Bitcoin, we have been hearing using Bitcoin for a while already, like almost more than 10 years. One of the main premises it was to be able to hedge inflation. It was very hard to see it like that spanning through the last 10 years because all of the ups and downs that we have seen, right? I did find a good um, infographic, right? A little picture here. Let me show it. So something
Oh,
very
I mean,
related to it's like I don't think that is a meme though. I think that is more like an infographic in my mind because this is a
yeah,
fact, right? Like
you're
it's
right.
like how much money it
Facts,
will be is
facts.
facts.
Brushing
Using
up
your
on my Gen Alpha lingo.
I can see that, man. So you have like the $20, right? So in 1998 up to right now, what you can get in 2021, right? Versus kind of the groceries in Bitcoin. Now with one Bitcoin, you can even get a Cybertruck. So I think that is a way for us to see how maybe you have all of these different people that are saying all of these bad things, but also we wanted to present you some information as well to be able for you to see because for us, life has become cheaper, right? Now with one Bitcoin, you can even get a one Cybertruck. So, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it perfectly illustrates things. And uh, f- for those of y'all that have been in the Bitcoin scene for a while, you've seen this same meme or this infographic change over time. And pretty soon, that one BTC is going to have a house underneath it instead of just a Cybertruck. So you can just extrapolate where we started from to where we're going, right? Started from the bottom, now we're here. So remember that. And also it's important to note on the top line, the US dollar. That's one of the things that I a lot of people that aren't uh in the finance world or aren't in the Bitcoin world or aren't in the crypto world that they don't realize. Uh, it took me a long time to realize. It wasn't until Bitcoin that I realized this, that inflation really, really does dilute your money over time. And so if you're not putting your US dollars, your fiat to work over time, it really is getting less and less in value. And you may get that part, but then you don't really. It's more difficult to put it in sense into context, like how much are you losing? And so those little grocery carts really does show you, because most people, that's something that they can feel. Like we talked about the Mexican price index. How much does pan dulce cost? How much does your Coca-Cola cost? That's a perfect example. A 12 pack of Coke, it used to cost like what, $4 just a few years ago for a 12 pack of Coke. Now, when I go to the grocery store, it's like you have to spend at least $16 and they make you buy like 2 or 3 packs of Coke, but they force you to spend $16. Otherwise, you're paying $8 for one 12 pack of Coke. So it's doubled in price. And that's all inflation is. That's
Yeah.
all we're saying is your buying power is becoming less and less through inflation. And even though you hear in the news inflation is coming down, that doesn't mean the prices are going to go down. That
Mm.
just means they're going to slow down going up. They're not going up as fast. That's all that means. But it's still going up, believe that. So that's what inflation is, and that's a perfect example. uh you go try to buy a 12 pack of Coke, it's going to cost you $8 now at the grocery store. I now actually, this kind of hurts me a little bit, not buying as much Coke. One, because high fructose corn
What?
syrup. I think Coke, if you hear this, get in touch with us. We got some notes. We really need to make sure we get at least the real cane sugar version out there instead of the high fructose corn syrup version. Because I know you can buy the yellow cap. Have you seen the yellow cap, Mondo?
No, that one has but the Mexican Coke
It's real
actually
sugar.
has is
Yeah.
real sugar. Yeah, but that one it comes in a glass container,
In the
and in
glass
some
bottles.
restaurants in California and as well in Texas, you can ask, "Hey, can I get a Mexican Coke?"
A Mexican Coke, yeah. So at least you can get real cane sugar in those, but that's what I've been buying instead. I know you can buy Coke, right, like that, but we need to fix that. But really going back to the point is inflation. So just be aware. Yes, as Bitcoin goes up, right now, one Bitcoin equals one Cybertruck. Eventually, it's going to be one Bitcoin equals one house, one average house, right? 400K. It'll probably get there in 2025. Not financial advice. And and the US dollar, well, you're going to buy less and less groceries at the store, right?
And one day, though, some of your maybe your grandchild for the audience might say, "Mom, why we are so rich?" And you might say because we can hold Bitcoin for more than 12 months. I think that's when I hear that the Bitcoin is crashing to 100K, and in this right now we are in 90K, right? 94 as we are recording this, and it's just funny to me, right? Like how probably people that they have been buying at the top, which is nothing wrong. Sometimes like Michael Saylor,
Michael
right?
Saylor buys at the top.
he keeps buying at the top, right? So and it's difficult. It's always difficult to keep buying at the top. But I really like that meme. Do you know what is that reference? That meme?
I know. You know what? You see lots of variations of it, and it is kind of funny. I like I like that it's coming from the viewpoint of the kid. They're like, kids don't realize their socioeconomic status, right? It's not like but for some reason, this kid in this meme realizes, Mom, why are we so rich? And the thing that she says is, well, we can hold Bitcoin for over 12 months after all. So I guess we're not doing too bad, right? It's kind of funny. Why do you want to hold Bitcoin for over 12 months, right? There's a couple reasons. If you're a hodler, you want to be able to hodl as the price jumps up in a bull run, but then also there may be dips, there may be valleys where you want to hold on to your Bitcoin where you don't have to sell it when it goes down too. So
it's also making a little bit of joke on people that they cannot hold their, like they just make $10,000, right? Like, oh, let me sell it, but you're forgetting that you have to pay taxes on it, right? Then it's like you didn't truly make maybe all of that money, right? Because now you have to do that. And at the end of the day, tell me what other investment has done that well, right? So, and have that happened to you? Maybe some friends, relatives, or family?
All the time. Obviously there's different reasons for this, right? You see price go up, you want to sell, right? For folks that aren't familiar with the 4-year cycle, for folks that aren't familiar with the bull runs when they go up, for those that aren't familiar for when it goes down, like there's these cycles that have been in play for Bitcoin ever since kind of the beginning, right? And they continue to play out over and over again. Each cycle, people think this cycle may be different. It hasn't been thus far, but I will say there have been some tweaks here and there. This cycle, we hit all-time highs very, very early, ahead of schedule, but that's because there's been so much good news, right? So for those people, if you have to take profits, that's great. I understand it. Sometimes you need it. Someone wants to put a down payment on a house. Someone needs to, pay for medical bills. You have to do it, obviously, right? But for those that are just doing it because they're trying to day trade or try to skim some off the top, understand that Bitcoin makes the bulk of their money all within like a 10 or 15-day time frame, right? I think we've said that before. If you're not in the market, if your money is not in Bitcoin during those 10, 15 days, the biggest gains of the year or of the cycle, you're going to miss out on a big chunk. So just be aware, have a strategy. That's all I'm really saying is have a strategy. Are you just going to try and trade it, trying to catch the lows and sell the highs? Have a strategy in place because Bitcoin moves very quickly. It's hard to be reactionary to it. You've got to have a plan in place. You have to set your limits, your orders, your sell orders, your buy orders. Have all that stuff set up. If you don't, it's likely a losing proposition. Like it's just very difficult. So I get it. Otherwise, if you want an easier strategy, is just buy and hold. assuming you can hold it. Like the meme
Yeah.
says, "Mom, why are we so rich?" Is because we can afford to hold it for over 12 months. So that's the moral of the story there, right?
And I think that sometimes we come across maybe in this part, right? Like, these guys just have Bitcoin or whatever. Also, we were very early, and right now we are trying to convey that there are many strategies, right? In the beginning, we start mining it. If we would knew kind of better, the better strategy
We
was
just
just
bought it.
buy
Yeah, just buy it.
straight. We were
Just
just
buy a whole.
having hardware, hooking it up in our places, trying to get these miners, these ASICs, right, from like different places. And
Mhm.
in that time, Coinbase was coming out. It's
Yeah,
like
it was. We were there pre Coinbase. Did not even exist.
Coinbase
Brian
didn't
Armstrong
exist.
was just still a little baby.
It wasn't a baby, but
Not a baby, but
now talking about different companies, though, something that it catch my attention was this. Let me share my screen. It's very interesting. Not sure if you are familiar with the Bloomberg terminal. So
Mhm.
for the audience, this is kind of a system or a software that the finance people they use, and it's called the Bloomberg terminal.
Like actual professional finance folks, right?
Professional finance people,
Mhm.
and this is like a to be able to even get it is like a monthly fee, or I don't know, outrageous
Mhm.
fee, like thousands of dollars just to pay to have access for a crappy chart, in my opinion.
Well, it's more so about the data feed,
It's
right?
the
You're
data. It is
supposed
the
to
data.
have like the quickest access, the best access, for the data. So if you are running, if you're like a quant or something like that, or um, you're running models that are based off of the latest and greatest data, and you need to be the first, so you can be the first mover. You need
Mhm.
access, right, to this data. So it makes sense for some.
Yes, and basically the very interesting thing that they did is that they added Bitcoin, but look at the amount that they added it. They added it in a fractions of millions. So they put
Hmm.
it as a point one because it was in 100K, point 0.1 millions. So uh, for me, it's kind of signaling that uh, the finance bros, right, in Wall Street, they are thinking that this asset is going to become a strategic asset, whether for governments and treasury for companies, that is going to keep ballooning to 150 to 100K. We'll see in this cycle, right? Some people they go bananas up to maybe a million in this cycle. Who knows? Nobody has a crystal ball. Sometimes we have seen the ball run to go, I don't know, 20x, which that would put in current prices in almost 2 millions, right? So
Hmm.
uh, it's very hard to predict. I don't think that we should predict here, but it's just how interesting it is that they are targeting us in the factor of millions.
Hmm. Yeah, and for those of y'all that haven't seen maybe some of that before, XBT, the letter X, XBT is usually the symbol for Bitcoin that you'll see in a lot of the financial systems. So you guys can do some searching there. But I think it is those folks are just preparing. They see the writing on the wall. They see all the news. They see a very a very crypto friendly administration coming in. They see all the nation states, they see all the states, they see all the pension funds, they see MicroStrategy adding to the S&P. Everyone's going to have a 1 to 2% allocation by default. All of these things, we're heading into the bull run. All of these things are something that will support the need for changing it from being in the thousands like it was, I guess, and then more so labeling it using as millions. So it's just an interesting nugget. It's like an Easter egg that you found. That's pretty interesting how XBT now shows up as zero point 0.1 million. It's uh, I think it's a foreshadowing there a little bit about where the price is going to go,
Yeah,
not financial advice.
yeah, exactly. So talking about financial advice, and now some people are bringing me some deals. I started having some deal flow, even for me advertising. Like
Mm-hmm.
I just get some different type of deals, and I'm not gonna dox the deal and the person that showed me yesterday a deal, but the deal that they were presenting me. long story short, it was kind of offering 15%. It was for almost a loan.
Hmm.
It was a 15% return in a year. And I needed to be kind of nice because you don't want to also tell the person, hey, your investment is sucks, right? Like it's lame. Why you are showing me
Hmm.
this, right? Because at the end of the day, you want deal flow. You want to make sure
Yeah.
that you continue to have deals. So, but I did also wanted to show different ways of seeing investments, and that way they bring better deals, right? One of the things that I kind of told them is like, hey, uh, check the benchmarks. Like, what are the benchmarks that you are comparing with, right? And in science and in different industries, you want to see those benchmarks, right? And one benchmark that I think that is kind of a proxy to see is the SPY. It's like the ETF. We have been mentioning the ETFs uh, in the pod for a while, right? And you can just go to Google and you can just put a SPY price, and you'll see our friends from BlackRock. I think that they own this ETF as well, which is the S&P 500, which is basically the top 500 companies in the American stock market. And then you can see in the different ones, like the 1 year, you can see the last year. For this year, 2024, it was 24%. So I was telling these people, it's like, hey, for the type of investment that you are showing me or you're giving me, I just would prefer just to leave the money on the stock market because there was no collateral, right? If there was a collateral, there would be a different story because maybe if they defaulted, I might be able to play around with that, right? But it's just interesting to me because sometimes people I hear with friends, family, and these people that they were approaching me for an investment, and I sometimes it helps me to be able to do a benchmark. Have that happened to you?
Yeah, definitely. And even for us, as like you mentioned, we're always kind of have an eye out on different businesses and different deals. At this point, we're looking at how quickly we can double, right?
Mhm.
That's really kind of one of our benchmarks that we're looking at if we're going into a business. How quickly can we double our money? We're not talking about like the 10, 15%, because you can do fairly low risk things and get that. Someone was just telling me the other day, like, oh yeah, I was doing options and I was able to make $14,000 doing options. I'm like, oh, that's pretty good. You know, made some money. But then you also have to keep in context. Well, how much capital did it take you to make that money?
$1 million.
If well, if you, I mean, yeah, think about it. If you put in $1 million and you made 14,000, you know, you're talking about 1.4%. That's not a great return, especially when we
Well,
just
well,
saw
well, depends though.
S.
It was in 3 seconds.
You're right. You're right. It could have been you made that in a day, not bad. But if you had to wait a whole full year to get that,
Oh yeah,
okay,
then sucky. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and that's not great, right? So like we just said, S&P 500 return 25%. So it's just like put that in context. Understand what your benchmarks are. What did Bitcoin return this year? Nearly 130%, right?
Yeah.
When it was 100K or even over 100K, we're
Mm.
talking about over 130%. Maybe in the 90s right now, it's maybe a little bit less, maybe 120%. But compare that
To
14%,
to be exact, is
25%.
121% for the past year.
That's live numbers, right? At
Hmm.
94.5, it's 120%.
Yep.
So um, just be aware, like that's how you have to compare things. Like Bitcoin, you're now okay. What else is made 100 and something percent? There aren't too many things out there. More than likely, if you do find something doing that, it's likely going to be higher risk. Folks are saying right now, Bitcoin is being de-risked. The higher it goes, the higher the price goes, it becomes less risky. Now, why? Why is that? That's because it allows the higher the price goes, more countries become interested in it, more pension funds become interested in it, more states become interested in it. Now it can be added to the S&P 500, things like that. So it becomes less risky as it goes up. So like be aware of the risk that it takes to make that return. Be aware of what other returns you can make. Can you make 15% doing something else that's lower risk? maybe it's worth it. But if it's the same risk, but you can make, you know, 5x doing one thing over the other, well,
Mhm.
that maybe that one does make more sense. I think Dow, Nasdaq, also over 30%, and this is like no work. If you have to go start a business just to make 20%, and you're working in this business every single day, and you're putting like, you know, 40 hours a week into this, but you're only going to make 20%, you know, rethink your strategy. So be aware of how much it takes. Now, I get it. Sometimes you may not have capital. So the
Mhm.
only thing that you have to offer is sweat equity. Totally get that. And that's
But
a good way
that's,
to start.
dude, I have no sympathy sometimes for that people because you get a Starbucks coffee. And if you're in America, you can get an Acorns account, which you can buy fractions. You don't need the $500 to invest on Nasdaq. Your Starbucks coffee, which is five or whatever is amount of whatever your type of coffee you like, you just put it towards cents, like literally cents, right? So I do feel that is just maybe some knowledge, and that's the reason why we're doing this pod, right? To kind of kind of help you to see, okay, there are ways, right? If you are just blaming the government, blaming your family or whatever, right? It's like it's not your fault in the family that you were living, but it's your fault if you end up poor, right? And it's just because of knowledge. And I feel that maybe you start making your nest egg, and start saving it $5 at a time, right? $1 at a time, and eventually you'll be able to diversify. But there, right now, you can get fractions, and that maybe that's something that people don't know. They think that they have to spend, I don't know, $94,000 in a Bitcoin, right? It's like, well, you can get a fraction, and the same with the stocks. If you want Apple, if you want Tesla, if you want Nasdaq, if you want S&P 500, there is fractional stocks.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So just realize that there's ways of approaching it, um, but take a look at that. Like, what return are you getting on your time, on your money? Be aware of that, and also factor in the risk. Yeah, if you have to do like high risk where you're likely to lose your money, is it worth it? Take a look at that. So, anyways, know your benchmarks. I think it's an interesting story, Mondo. Of course, we don't ever want to keep someone from bringing us a deal. That's we always want to at least hear it out. But for those folks that are like doing that, also, I mean, that's what they're looking at. They're comparing. Well, I can put my money here. Why would I put it here when there's double the risk and half the reward? You know, be aware of that, and that's also something good. If you have a good idea, or if you've got like a business that you might need some additional funding or something like that, you know, the hard money route, maybe it's not the best route because a person is just going to make a return. Maybe equity is something that can be offered too, because then that makes it a little bit more interesting for the person providing funding for the deal, or also like Mando mentioned, you can provide some type of collateral, so that it reduces the risk a little bit for the person providing the funding. So there's different ways of approaching it. You can get creative, but be aware of those benchmarks and what the other opportunities are that that person might have available to them.
Yeah. Uh, I remember our friend Paul, he used to tell us 8% a year is like, your average. It's kind of between 7 to 10%. And then looking at some of the numbers for the last, I don't know, 50 years of the S&P 500, it's kind of a rule of thumb. Obviously, rule of thumbs, they're not
Mhm.
perfect, right? But it gives you an average. That means that in theory, you should be duplicating your money about 7, 8 years. Seven, and to be exact, 7.2, but you know, uh, something that gives you that reference. So any investment that it allows you to duplicate your money faster than that, you're gonna be doing way better than the benchmark, right? The problem is the risk, and then how you need to be able to navigate that uh, with different deals. But yeah, that's where we are coming from. So if you have a deal and you want us to take a look, we'll take a look. Yeah, what else do we have? What is the next topic?
All right. Well, moving on a little bit of the mom. Why are we so rich? There's some there's some interesting things in science, in the science realm. I know we talk a lot about kind of AI, but there's some interesting things that did come up in the last couple of weeks. One of these things was Google. They came out with a new quantum chip, and I think we probably talked a little bit about it last week. But Google's quantum chip, one of the people on the team, on the research team, recently came out, and their quantum chip called Willow. So you guys can go look it up. Google's new quantum chip, Willow. One of the researchers said, you know what? Like, this chip really worked pretty well. And it's a purpose-built chip in that it was made to solve like one particular problem. But it worked so well to solve this problem. They think maybe it ran in multiple parallel universes to achieve that. So like, what did he just say?
It's like the aliens, right? Yeah, there are some aliens and nobody cares.
Yeah.
Or
So
like,
this is Heartnut Nevin Heartnut Nevin. I don't know.
no,
Either
no.
way, what is the head of Google Quantum AI?
Okay.
Smart guy, right? But he says like the fact that this chip Willow could complete these tasks in minutes versus like the billions of years that it would normally take on a normal supercomputer chip, it indicates that likely this chip was running in parallel universes and able to complete it so quickly. Very, very interesting.
Man, it's like we started to lead into science fiction, right? Like a lot of the things that we are seeing, uh, and I don't know, maybe some. It's funny because like The Simpsons,
Mhm.
those guys are like tap into. There's so many prophecies that these guys were able to, and very spot on. Like I was looking the ones for Trump, like
Mhm.
to the T, you know. And now they, because now everybody is kind of watching every single thing on The Simpsons to see if there's any other prophecy. In one of episodes of The Simpsons, they also have Ivanka for 2028. So Ivanka
Oh,
Trump.
really?
So it's like you never know.
Oh, very interesting. Got to keep it in the family, huh?
Yeah, it's like I guess now it's like becoming the new dynasties, right? Like
Hmm.
the all of the Ming dynasty, you know, in the China and all of that. So I feel that, and here in America was like the Bush, you know, and
Oh,
The
yeah.
Clintons they
Hmm.
try, right?
Yeah.
So, but not sure if the Obamas will, right? So,
Hmm.
uh, but yeah, I feel that now is like kind of the new series of people that they are trying to just keep in within between the families.
Well, if you think about the quantum realm, and yes, we have these parallel universes now proved apparently by this Hartmut Nevin from Google Quantum AI. There is probably already a universe out there, parallel universe that has Ivanka already making her plans to run for the next presidential election because in quantum mechanics, you know, the whole term about the qubits, and that's kind of their bits on how they process the information. Instead of just 0 1, they have 0 1 and then both or none. I guess, but or that's 0, right? 0 1 or both. Um, but it can be both simultaneously. And so, if there are these parallel universes that can all be existing at the same time, more than likely there is a parallel universe that already has Ivanka that's planning her bid for for the next presidential election. So, anyways, interesting stuff. If you'd like to go into the quantum realm, there's a book that I loved to read when I was a little younger by Brian Greene, and now I forget what it's called, but it talks about the quantum, the basics of what quantum is, the quantum mechanics, how it works. But one of the big breakthroughs on this Willow thing was also just in general, just to kind of give the rest of the information about this Google's quantum AI chip here, is that they addressed something that was an issue in the quantum field for a while, and that had to do with error correction. So errors would build up over time, which would at some point then make so that the data was not good or not reliable. So they developed a way to solve for the error correction. So that's something that they were able to, as it progressed, the computations progressed, the errors would be able to be reduced so that you could have more confidence in the actual outputs of the computations. So it's pretty interesting. But the big nugget there is that they think there's multiple parallel universes, and it's proven by this quantum chip.
Well, there is
Maybe
more
that's how
news about.
Simpsons do it.
Yeah, who knows, man? But there is other news that came up very similar. Let me share my screen. Uh, Scientists are pretty sure they found a portal to the fifth dimension. So, and they have this
What?
picture here, like what?
I'm sure that's exactly what it looks like.
Exactly, it's like a door in the freeway, right? I, I think that is just the science is moving so fast with AI that they're able to start doing some math calculations, some computing, right, and some
Mhm,
simulations. Uh, that is, it's just quite interesting how we're gonna see evolving in, and I think in a lot of the different ecosystems, like you see with the SpaceX. I feel
mhm.
that for 20 years we didn't do shit in in the space, and now suddenly with Bezos and freaking Elon, it's like we are moving so fast in all of the space race, right? So and then now you have Bloomberg, like sorry, not Bloomberg, Boeing. You have Boeing, you have
Mhm.
SpaceX, and you have Blue Origin, all of them
It's
competing.
it's almost like there was some secret agreement between the aliens and the government to not go into that realm until now.
In New Jersey, who knows? Eh?
Put my
It's like, where's your tinfoil, man?
tinfoil hat.
So I think that we'll see on how this develops. But it's just very curious because it was in the Popular Mechanics
Mhm,
website. It's not like sometimes you see this type of news in like in internet on Reddit or whatever, right?
mhm.
But yeah, it's getting pushed to mainstream, and I think that it's just how you're able to tap maybe some of the. Have you seen the CIA files on the Gateway
Oh, the
experience?
gateway stuff. I mean, I haven't like read the whole or gone through all the videos and stuff, but I've heard about it.
I did read the whole PDF though.
Hmm.
Quite interesting that the CIA was doing experiments with kind of your consciousness to be able to
Hmm.
tap into these different dimensions, right? And then how using your dreaming and being able to kind of tap with this vibration. There are some rules of the universe that everything is vibration, and kind of the CIA was trying to tap because they noticed that there were some supernatural, right? Like maybe clairvoyance to people that they can actually see, and we have seen like in the Bible and things like that that they were prophets, and they were trying to replicate it using science. And again, it's some of the things that maybe the government didn't want to expose, right, to people. But I feel that aliens and all of these type of things to be able to cross in different dimensions, because moving in different dimensions, some of those maybe time is not a problem, so you might be able to see future and past. And I feel that in that way, when you are able to tap into that, you might be able to kind of see onto that. There is some conspiracy theory that the Vatican, they had a device that they already are able to see that. Who knows?
Mm. Is that what they took out of the wall this week? I know that I saw that the Pope did something.
Yeah,
The
they were.
the key was taken out of the wall.
Who knows?
It was a time travel device.
No, it's not a time travel. It's like only to be able to see,
Only to what?
the past,
Ah, okay.
any point in time. So,
Okay.
man, when you go into the Reddit and like all of this, you just go into.
It's like a record player. You could just put the record thing wherever you want it to, and then it starts playing, huh?
Some people mention that it's just in the past. You can only see a point in the past that already passed, right? So
Hmm.
once again, hard to tell. Until I don't see the
Yeah.
device, I won't be able to. Or I start projecting my dreams.
Yeah. Well, I guess it depends the approach that people. I think it's been theorized that yes, you can at least using today's physics the way we know it look into the past, not into the future, but we're talking about kind of some unproven some unproven theories at this point that people are coming up with.
Well,
Yeah, this
the
dark
reason
matter
why I'm bringing it
stuff.
up is because
Hmm.
quantum computing it was that, right? It's like it was very woo-woo things, and as well now
Hmm.
portals, it was like a very science fiction, and
Hmm.
now we're seeing them that our science is able to start. And you remember Terrence, right? Like the episode,
Teleology.
the teleology, right? Like this guy is merging technology with different teachings of the occult, with the tree of life, and the guy
He's the
made it with
bridge
science.
that's bringing everyone together.
I wouldn't call it a
Uh,
bridge, but yeah, but I think that is just I feel that now our science is trying to not disregard a lot of the ancient knowledge. Like, maybe these ancient technologies they they have some knowledge here. It's just we are not able to understand it yet, right? Like finally we have some scientists that they are paying attention to, like, okay, how these guys are doing this, right? Or why did they
mhm,
put it in different cultures? But yeah, I feel that this type of technology advancements, like the portals and and quantum computing, it might propel us to the next steps. I am a bit worried for sure. If we are able to move in a quantum computing, maybe we might be able to crack Bitcoin. And that's one of the things. I don't think that is close, but it's for sure that's one of the risks, right? That in the moment that they are able to break the algorithm, that's like game over. But I think that if that is happening, uh, and the institutions, the finance institutions are there, they very likely will create a new revision, a new fork of Bitcoin. And then because you have X amount of Bitcoins, you might be able to get the quantum computing Bitcoin bulletproof. So
mhm.
I'm not too concerned, but there is a risk.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's a real risk. The thing is, like these chips I mentioned, like the Willow chip, it's a purpose-built chip. It's not a general chip that can you just point it to do anything. So how much money does it take to create that chip? Billions of dollars, right? Like, and that's just to do one thing. So we're far away from that. That's not necessarily maybe a risk, but not even a high risk or anything like that. Very, 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 very extremely low risk thing. Um, where awareness of the risk is probably just the biggest need right now because the Bitcoin developers they already know this risk. They already have a quantum proof algorithm that can be used. So it's not necessarily an issue. And the way the forks work is the miners just have to choose to adopt it, which it would be in their benefit to adopt the new quantum proof algorithms, right? So that's something out there. It's already solved in terms of how you would fix it. It would just be more of a when do you implement the fix or the that option, um, and more than likely the the government that solves quantum computing or gets to a point that's not likely the thing that they would target first. So it's like, finally, we solved quantum computing. I'm going to go get Satoshi's Bitcoin. They would probably be doing something else. They would probably be trying to get like nuclear codes or some shit, you know what I mean? Or crack into like the governmental sites and all of that, or take over different things. Bitcoin, it would not be on their top of the listing to break. You know, there's other things more than likely.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
good, good, good to bring it up and good to talk about. But just know that it's already solved. It's more so of the logistical. How would you implement it? How would the fork happen? How long would it take to do the fork? Things like that.
Yeah. Something also that came up this week. we have some real estate as well ourselves, right? And sometimes these type of things, uh, they're they're interesting to us. So basically, there is a lot of buildings like malls that they were abandoned.
Mm.
And entrepreneurs and developers, guess what? They always find an opportunity to say, this is kind of like a dead space. It's already built. What we can do with it? And there is also a housing crisis, right? With everything that right now is going up. So now developers are getting creative and they're using malls for living spaces. So they are investing to kind of be able to kind of do it because there is a lot of stores that they will uh, kind of like not useful, right? So at least for this article, 192 malls they are planned to be added, and this is an old kind of news. It was in 2022. So for me, I think that is uh, it's a perfect thing to a win-win situation. You have a place that probably is becoming a crack, a crack house, right? In this case, a crack mall.
Hmm.
And then it's a problem for kind of the society because then you have all of these people that they just break windows and internally and just becomes a mess. But also you have all of these people that they need affordable housing, and it's just a perfect match, right? And in some cases, you can make it very nice. I have seen some of them that is like, like I will live there. It's like it has everything. You're already in the mall, so it's like if you want everything. So it's just quite interesting to me how they are finding different ways. The other one, I have a friend that he is having typical containers, like those containers from transportation, and they're creating like housing with those too. And they're also doing it for commercial use too. So a very quick and easy way to build commercial. So what's your thinking there?
It's interesting. I haven't seen this in Houston. There may be some things out there like where some places have been transformed, but pretty interesting. Like, hopefully, I guess that I don't know if it's the malls are being sold or if it's actual the mall developers. Like, is it Simon Malls like out there converting their malls into apartments or what? But you know what? I think housing. I'm not sure how housing is would work for that. Like, is it because you're not buying it, you would be renting this, I'm assuming, because the owners of the mall would be the ones that are owning it still, so they
Mhm.
you would still be leasing. So would it be that much cheaper than an apartment complex, or are they doing this because the developers don't want to build apartment complexes, because apartment complexes are everywhere here in Houston? So I'm wondering if there's a specific is it like more so in rural areas, not in cities? I'm just curious about how this works, because maybe in rural areas they don't even have like big malls and stuff like that.
No,
I'm
it's
envisioning
a
like the Galleria. When you transform the Galleria into like apartments, I'm not sure how that would work or why you would want to do that.
no, it's just some places like Detroit that they just get so hammered because
Mm,
maybe the industries are not there and they used to have their malls, right? Things like that, cities like that where they had some industry, and now it's crickets, right?
yeah.
And you still have that people there, and yes, it has to be more affordable than maybe an apartment complex. And yes, here in Houston, there's so many, but they're pricey though. I'm not sure if you have noticed lately how much is to rent one apartment, like one bedroom, right? And it
Hmm.
ranges. It ranges in Austin. You can find $800, $1,000 is just your medium size, right? Like
Hmm.
it's not nothing fancy, nothing ugly, right? So you'll go $1,000 per bedroom.
Hmm.
So two bedrooms, almost close to 2,000, right? So give and take,
Yeah.
which maybe this type of place, it might be way less than that. So
Yeah. I'm
um,
just trying to walk through the numbers in my head, and I just don't see how it would be financially feasible to do that versus just build an apartment complex
I think that
that's
is because
purpose built.
already the building is there. They just add in sheetrock or whatever, right? And maybe
Yeah,
there's
but you
no
need
bathrooms.
bathrooms, you
They
need
probably just
kitchens,
probably then you
like,
just use the infrastructure, or maybe it's just electrical, right?
mhm,
So uh, yeah, they were having some videos on this and on how they kind of put everything electrical in kind of the mini space. But yeah,
Hmm.
it feels that it's a good way to kind of like repurpose um, that structure,
Hmm.
and they're making money.
Yeah. Yeah. I know there's a development down the street that they were going to build one of these, what are they called? Mixed use buildings. So they have apartments at the top, on the bottom, there's restaurants, stores, stuff like that, high end luxury. But it stopped when COVID happened. They actually tore everything down except for the specs. The specs made it through. It lived on at least for a little bit. Now it's
So the
empty, but
pandemic.
it was like the only thing that survived during thing. Everything else got torn down, and it just stopped. I looked up the developer. The developer is actually like a local person. It wasn't like one of these national folks, but it was a local developer that is from the area, and he was going to do this for that area. And I'm thinking that's still a pretty good project. We should talk to him. We should talk to him, see if we can get that project going again. Maybe we can go 50-50 on it, because I think to build that commercial space, I don't think it would be too much. I know we had looked into apartment complexes
Mm.
before, and there's a lot of work owning apartment complexes, and it can be lucrative if you have like a C class, I think, where your tenants don't expect you to do much for them. They're like, yeah, we're paying $600 for the apartment complex. We don't have AC or anything like that, but we're okay. We'll
Bring
use
your
window
own AC.
units. That kind of apartment complex to be like kind of a
Landlord,
uh,
like a
what do they call
slumdog.
it? Scumlord? You can make money in those, but I think in some of the other ones, like uh, they're a little bit tougher to really make the kind of return that you want. Like if you're going to make $100 a room on an apartment complex, and let's say it's a small one, it's like a 20 unit or something like that. You're talking about making $2,000 a month on something that maybe you have to buy for $1 million. It's like, okay, think about your return. Now a lot of times you do the financing, so you're not putting up $1 million of capital. Maybe you're putting 20%, 200K, so maybe 2,000 a month profit on 2,000 a month outlay. Maybe not as bad. um I don't know, you got to do the math to see if it makes sense, because we looked at those deals and it was borderline for us. Of course, if you're looking at investing in an area that the property is likely to go up, like it's a transitional area, you're buying it C, you're putting some money, a class C apartment, you're putting money into it, maybe you get it to a class B, then there's some potential where you're making some money there, because the neighborhood's turning, it's getting a little bit nicer, there's more amenities around you, more restaurants around you. You can invest and you can then resell it after, right? And maybe make some cash there. But um,
Yeah.
yeah, interesting concept. And you know what? On along those same lines, I can see that for the older population, as people are getting older,
Mhm.
that might be something. Instead of it just being normal apartments, maybe it's like an old folks type home.
Yeah, yeah, it can be
That could
used
work
for
too.
that too, right? So you have
Yeah.
more like a dorms. Then you have the doctors there going through, and there are ways
Hmm.
to repurpose that infra. Yeah, I think that we have a good one, man.
Yeah, we did good today. Just a reminder, don't forget to like, subscribe. It really does help the channel. We're trying to grow it, try and get some more subscribers. So if you made it this far, click that subscribe button. If you got questions or you want to talk to us, leave a comment. I know we're doing these live nowadays, so you guys can kind of hear from us real time. I don't know how many people we had on today, but I think I did see a question come through. Hopefully we answered that. But if y'all have not heard our Bitcoin remixes, go check them out on our channel. We are going to be doing some changes coming up to our channel, so you'll be able to just hear about the content that you like about. If you're into Bitcoin but not into Tesla, you'll be able to just see the things that you want. So look out for some of that. I think that's all we've got. If you're interested in some Cybertruck mods, check out CT Mods, our channel sponsor. We've got some good things out there. We've got a bunch of things linked out on our site, so check it out. But I think that's all we got for today. Dale.
Bye.